tune of mine called Charlie Rich. I'm going to teach it to you here. It's similar to And They All Sang in that it works really nicely as a solo guitar piece, and it can also be adapted to play in other settings. I used to play this in my guitar duo with Mason Stoops. We were called Kibby Dango. We used to play this tune. I've recorded it with my quartet with Charlie, not with Charlie Rich, with Rich Hinman, and I've played it in other settings as well. So depending on whether you are alone or with other people, you might want to include the bass thing that I'm doing, or you might not. I've left it out on the chart in the A section, and I included a little bass thing on the chart in the B section, so you can see what's going on. I just thought it would be easier to read, honestly, without the bass thing going on in the A section. I'll show it to you here. I'll even show you a little variation that you can do to keep it interesting. But the crux of the biscuit is what's on the page, which is these triads. And all of the triad stuff is happening on strings 4, 3, and 2. And that's true for the whole piece. All of the triad stuff is on strings 4, 3, and 2. Also, what's consistent throughout is the articulation. If you're not an experienced reader, you might overlook this, but there's dots over the very first chord that's on beat 2, so 1, 2, and then there's another dot on beat 3. That just means play those a little shorter. So instead of playing it evenly, which would sound like this, 1, there's just like a little 1. So there's just like a little bit of air in there. And I'm getting that by lifting my finger up. That's how you make this chord short. I'm not muting it here, I'm muting it there. And if I don't do the bass thing, then what I generally do is get the upper 2 notes of the chord as an anticipation, and I get to the note on the 4th string on the beat. So that's what this would be. 3, 4, 1. Right? So I'm getting to that last note last. And if I was playing with with the bass part in, then I would actually get the whole triad on the anticipation. Bass note on 1. You know what I mean? Let me know if that's not clear. Right, so again, like I would do that on the A chord. If I don't have to play the bass, I'll hit the upper 2 notes as an anticipation and hit this note on the downbeat. Or with the chords, with the bass, I'll get the chords all as an anticipation of the triad, and I'll hit the bass note on 1. It's just so that there's a sense of, when you're anticipating something, we want to hear what it is you're anticipating. So it can be something that you play, it can happen somewhere else in the band, but I don't want the listener to feel like everything happens on the anticipation. It's an anticipation of a downbeat, so we have to play the downbeat either as the bottom note of the triad or as a bass note, right? So one thing just I wanted to mention, it has nothing to do with the technical part of this, but just in a musical, theoretical way, all of the moving triad stuff is in anticipation of the chord coming up. So the pickups into letter A have to do with the D chord. But in the measure after that, they don't really have to do with D so much as they have to do with the A chord that's about to happen. And so functionally, the pickups into letter A, pickups into the D chord are 1, 4, 1, 2, 1. Chord names are D, G, D, E minor, D. And then the same function happens going into the A chord. 1, 4, 1, 2, 1. Or if you name it, A, D, A, B minor, A. And then going into the E chord, again, we have 1, 4, 1, 2, 1. Or E, A, E, F sharp, E. And then A, D, A, B minor, A. And then the first ending is pickups. And then, so if you want to add the bass, I'll show you how to do that. And watch my right hand, because that's part of the thing. So I'm starting with this. But then I get these 3 fingers at the end so that my thumb is free. You might wonder why I don't just do That's a fair question. I don't know why. But this just feels a little more authoritative as a start. I feel like I can play that with more authority. Maybe I should just work on that so that I can play this way with the same authority. But you can do whichever feels more sensible to you. It is a little funny when I see myself do it to switch fingering, right hand fingerings in the middle of a phrase, but that's the way I generally play it. And on this, I'm not doing the whole chord. I'm just doing bass and 2 notes. And the reason that I'm only doing 2 notes is I want to leave the melody alone. Da ba da da da, and just let it sing. If I made that part of my strumming thing, then it's kind of murky. Like, what's the melody? What's the accompaniment? We don't ever want the listener to be worried about, well, is that melody? Is that accompaniment? So whatever we can do to make it clear in our arrangement, like the actual notes, and also in our performance, the actual how we articulate it when we play it. So now I am doing this. So maybe I do that sometimes naturally. And then sometimes if I want to just make it a little spicier, I might do this. So that's some kind of diminished chord. It doesn't really matter what it's called, but the shape is 4th fret, skip, 3rd fret, 4th fret, and then up. So it's really just like D7, but with the 5th in the bass and approaching it from the bottom. And here I'll go A flat 7 or G sharp 7, you could say, up to A7. And then the same kind of diminished thing. And then the second ending, it just says A7 on the chart, but quite often I'll do this little walk up. It's not on the chart, but anybody that you're playing music with will, I would be surprised if they didn't do that, because we're going from A to D. So even though that's not on the chart, oftentimes when I play it with people, they'll just do it. When I'm by myself, I'll sometimes do it, sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll just hang out on A7. And now the bridge, which actually does have the bass line written in. So those are the down-stemmed notes. And remember before when I was talking about the notes with the dots on them that are kind of short? Short, short. Now, at letter B, there's a different symbol, which is this dash under the note, which means just long, full value. Don't choke it off. So, so 3, 4. So I do sometimes play with palm muting, even though I said it should be long and not choked. You can mute it, but not cut it off so that the note stops ringing. So I sometimes do that. B, 2, 3, 4. Again, that's that's in the service of clarity, so that the bass line gets full value, but it's doesn't feel too heavy. I don't want that to feel heavy. So by palm muting it, it kind of pushes it into the background just a little bit in the listener's ear. And then we're at the end of the tune, at which point you could pick it up and do it again. That could live there. Or you could improvise. So when I said then you could improv or improvise over the tune, I don't just mean playing lines, although I suppose you could do that. You could actually do that for a little while as well. But what I was doing when I was improvising was trying to think more how the tune is structured, where there's like some da 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 do da downbeat rhythm, da boom ba do da, and use that as kind of a rhythmic framework to play other stuff, but still leave myself the opportunity to play some accompaniment stuff, which the way this is structured makes it easy to kind of pass it back and forth between melody and accompaniment. If you try to just play freestyle melody and keep the accompaniment going, I mean, that's certainly possible, but it's going to be a lot harder. So I think if you put it in a specific place rhythmically, that allows you to then return to the kind of boom, 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 ga gi ga do da boom, 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 da da ga da da boom, boom. You know what I mean? If you did that more than 2 or 3 choruses worth, I think people would get tired, and it would start to feel gimmicky, I think. There's ways of keeping things interesting by just changing the register, playing up high for a while, playing down low for a while. You could play in octaves. And then that's in sixths there. I just went there instinctively. Playing one note at a time, playing dyads of some sort, octaves or sixths or tenths or whatever. Changes of texture are good. Changes of register are good. If you feel bold, you could try changing keys. You could change the form. The way that the song is structured, it's A-A-B. You could hang out on A for a while and just make a loop of that. And when you're ready to get out, when you go to B, that's going to be a return to the melody. So you're improvising E. This is presuming you've already been improvising for a while over a loop of the A section. And then we get real quiet and go to the B section and actually play the written melody. So that can be fun to break up the form in an unexpected way and also to play with dynamics. And then often at the end I'll do a little tag. So I hope you'll have some fun playing this tune. And as I said at the end of the video for "And They All Sang," I hope it inspires you to write something. I wrote this a few years ago for Pickup Guitar asked me to do a lesson video. And when I wrote this piece, it was called "The Worst Airport in the World." I just thought that was too long of a title and also too negative, so I renamed it Charlie Rich, who is a great piano player that you might be aware of. Anyway, so I wrote this song fairly quickly, thinking about triads and something teachable. It went on to be a tune that I play all the time. So even though it was really like an etude, my mission from Pickup Guitar was write something teachable, and I was thinking a lot about triads at that time. So I thought this would be a neat piece to teach triads. But so think about something simple like that. Write a piece around whatever, triads, dyads, or some other little nugget of music that you're interested in right now, and see if you can write a piece of music around it. You could borrow my form if you like, which is AAB. It's nice to have a second section to go to that offsets the first section and almost makes you hungry to get back to that A section because you kind of miss it. hopefully. I mean, that's what we try to do. We try to write something that's so good in the beginning that when you go away from it, the listener actually wants to get back to it. Well, we try. Anyway, good luck. Let me know if you have questions. You can put them down in the comments below. Appreciate you being curious.